Okay, so let's go through the male reproductive anatomy first, and I'll kind of put this back the way it was before we split the pelvic cavity open here. I'll remind you that we have the testes are housed in a skin sac, a muscular skin sac called the scrotum. And can anybody tell me from the video what was the purpose of the scrotum? What's its job? Regulate the temperature of the testes, because sperm are not made at body temperature. They're made how far below? 3 degrees below body temperature. So we're going to open this up, and I'm going to pull out one of the testes here out of the scrotum so that you can see it. And I'm going to pull it up a little bit closer here because we learned that there is the testes where the seminiferous tubules are and the sperm are made. And then there's the place on the back. What do we call the area where we store them? Epididymis. Now, this is one of those things you may want to come over to the side and look at a little bit closer. It's kind of hard to see. It's just a little bit of different color variation, but let me see if I can show you up here. I tried to peel back some of the connective tissue on the outside supporting it so you could see. And, okay, let me show you here. So this is a little bit more of a tannish color here. This is going to be where the seminiferous tubules are in the testis. And then if I rotate this back here, do you see how this got a little bit whitish and then a little bit more yellow there? This is where the epididymis is. And that's where we actually store the sperm after they've been made until there's sexual stimulation and they're allowed to leave the body. Now, in order for them to leave the body, we've got to get them back up in the pelvic cavity so they can come out through the urethra. Because down here in the scrotum, they're outside the pelvic cavity. So let me show you this structure here, which is actually a collection of blood vessels and nerves and another tube called the vas deferens or the ductus deferens. This is all collectively called the spermatic cord. So that's the spermatic cord is many things inside it. One of those things that we're going to have you identify is the vas deferens, the ductus deferens. So let me show you the difference up here. Do you see how things are starting to split now and come out of the cord? Let me show you the ductus deferens. We'll just tuck that testis back into the scrotum. And y'all tell me, what is this? This is the bladder. So what is this coming out of it? The urethra. See how the urethra is going down here? So the vas deferens, what it will do is it will come out of the spermatic cord once you're back up in the pelvic cavity, and it will loop over this tube here. What tube is this coming into the bladder? This is the ureter. So the vas deferens or ductus deferens is actually looping over the ureter, and it's going behind, going back here in order to empty into the ejaculatory duct and then the urethra. We're not going to identify the ejaculatory duct, but you can actually see that on both sides. Here's a ductus deferens. Here's another ductus deferens on the other side. And so then this is the urethra, and let me open this up here. Do you see this little bit wider area right there? It's just a little bit thicker right there. This is kind of skinny, that's thicker. What's surrounding the urethra right there? That's where the prostate gland is. The prostate gland is surrounding outside the urethra, and it makes a secretion that it adds to the urethra to activate the sperm. And then if we keep on going a little bit further, the urethra will actually come out the penis, which you can see here. And now cats are a little bit different. They do have a sheathed penis, so there is actually a skin line covering here that will encase the penis. That's it. I will have this over here for you to look at. Let me show you the female next. Okay, let's focus it. All right, so the female, you need to be a little more careful with the female because the urinary and reproductive structures can often get confused. So let's actually start by moving some of this out of the way. And then y'all tell me, what is this? That is the bladder. And coming out of the bladder down here is the urethra. Now, if you pull that forward, then what is this? That's the uterus right behind it. And so then what's coming out of the bottom of the uterus down here? The vagina. So you have to make sure you understand whether you're looking at the bladder and the urethra, or if you're looking at the uterus, and then down below here is where the vagina would be. Now, cats are a little different because they have a split uterus. They have what we call uterine horns. Humans do not. We just have the body of the uterus and the fallopian tubes that actually attach to it. Now, cats have fallopian tubes as well. It's just they're small and hard to see. So what their uterus does is it bifurcates here to give them a uterine horn here and a uterine horn here, and then down here is the body of the uterus. Now, we carry our young in basically the body of the uterus. We don't have uterine horns. They carry their young in these uterine horns, which is why they can do what? Carry litters and, have 6 and 10 kittens like it's nothing, right? They can have multiple babies developing in these uterine horns. Now, their fallopian tubes are actually further up here, and like I said, we're not going to identify them. But what you can see here is the ovary. So if we pull this back here, this kind of oval-shaped thing here, this is an ovary. And then on the other side, you can see, if I can get to it, go the other way. There you go. Here's the ovary on the other side, right here. Now you'll notice that they're anchored down. There's ligaments that actually anchor it down and keep that ovary in place, so that when the egg is ovulated, it's in the right position for the fallopian tubes to grab it, because the fallopian tubes are not directly connected to the ovary. There is a gap, and you have the risk of the egg not making it into the fallopian tube. We'll talk all about that when we get to lecture. You can get things like ectopic pregnancies and stuff. But we'll save that for lecture. All right. I believe that is all the parts for the female. So that is the reproductive system. It's pretty straightforward, but I'll have it over here on the side for you in case you want to look at it in closer